Hello, welcome back to the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel. Here we are again. I'm in front of a green screen. My name is Emil and I'm wearing a cap because this thing is just out of control. But it's nice to have football back. I hope that everyone has stayed safe. It's great to have football to talk about again. Myself and Andy Burnham did a little podcast the other day predicting the first 5 of Newcastle's game behind closed doors. But of course, we have to preview them one by one. So the first of which is going to be Sheffield United, and I think it's going to be a tough one. Sheffield United have already had a game. They've got some big strengths, a lot of away goals. They've actually scored more away from home than we have at home. The defence is very strong. They're a bit of a unit, to be honest. They haven't got a massive squad, but I think Chris Wilder has set them up to be that newly promoted team that has a blinder in the first season, and they're on the verge of Europe, if not Champions League. Now, the first game I mentioned, it is a 0-0 against Villa. Of course, there was that real horrendous moment with the goal line technology, VAR, whatever was meant to be working at that time clearly didn't work, which set off the Premier League with a bit of a bad tone straight away. However, they looked up for it. They were up against Villa, who I would say are not as good as we are, but then again, Newcastle are very unpredictable. We'll see how we go with this one. Sheffield United have got some really, really strong players, but I think that they've got one of those teams where you don't really know too much about them. They've also got a lot of unknown players, so the pressure's off them a little bit. But looking at our lineup, first and foremost, Dubravka is going to be in goal. I think this has been the biggest blessing out of the whole coronavirus thing. I know that it's tiny in the grand scheme of things, but in terms of what we lost after Southampton, Dubravka was going to be a massive miss for the games, if not for the rest of the season. So having him in the goal, you always have a chance in the game. It is key that we have him in there. At the back, Manquillo, I think, deserves a place. He started against Southampton. I thought he looked okay. His crosses aren't the best, but going forward, he's a little bit better than Yedlin, and I would say he's actually a little bit better defensively as well. I know that we've secured something of a contract for him as well, so I think that's really good going forward, and who knows what the future holds. I reckon Manquillo is one that is being shined up a little bit at Newcastle. Lascelles is the captain. We mentioned on the podcast that Lascelles is one of those players that you need in your team when the chips are down. I think Lascelles can organise the team. We've said it before, we've said it again. We're missing something when he's not there. He can sometimes be that man to just get the team behind the ball and say, right, let's sort this out. And whether or not he's affected without the crowd, we'll see. Fernandes is in there as well. I'm keeping him in just on the basis that it's good to have a bit of familiarity. I mentioned the Southampton lineup. I think that Fernandes and Lascelles have got that key partnership. Lejeune's out at the moment. I know Clark might be in the running to come back, but given the track record of what Bruce has been doing this season, he likes the same things. So I think Fernandes, Lascelles, we've got that team that we went into the break with, so keep them there. Rose as well. Now, I know he's a controversial one. I know he's had some comments about Leicester. I know his weight's been called into question, and some might be saying, why not have Richie there instead of him? Well, I think Rose, all out, is better defensively anyway than Richie. Richie's great to have there, the attack dog of Newcastle United, but Rose is that one who is made for that role. So let's hope that despite the match fitness problem, he does that defensive role. And given that Sheffield United aren't the biggest scorers in the world, Rose can hopefully hold them down. He's an England international after all. Moving on to the midfield now, Lazaro, who many might say they want to see in defence. I don't think he's that good in defence. I think he's better going forward. Really exciting play when Lazaro is going forward. We saw a little bit of it against Arsenal. We've seen some of it in the Cup. Certainly saw a bit of it when he came off the bench against Southampton. I reckon he's the best loan signing that we've got out of the 3. Bentaleb and Rose and Lazaro, who are hopefully extended till we need them, I guess. Lazaro definitely needs to be in there. Into the centre, Shelvey and Hayden, I'm going to go straight up and say it's them too. I mentioned familiarity. Those two work together the most. I think Shelvey on his day, if he's up for it, he's had a bit of time off. who knows what might happen. He might provide a masterclass like he did against West Ham. As for Hayden, cool and collected. I know that some people say that he's a bit negative, but against a team like Sheffield United, we need to have those moments where we can just kind of think for a bit, and I think that Hayden's probably the best choice. I'm not sure what Bentaleb's situation is at the minute, but what we've seen of him, there's a few flourishes, but we saw those flourishes against Oxford. In the league, we've not really seen enough yet. He'll probably make the bench, but if my facts are wrong, then forgive me. I've had a few wines tonight. On the other side of though, it's Saint Maximin. He is the player that is going to drag Newcastle kicking and screaming into a bit of attacking play this year, certainly for the remainder anyway. He's already done it. We've seen it in so many games, whether it's the cross into Hayden against Chelsea, the goal against Oxford, the goal against Southampton. He's the most exciting player on the pitch for us, and I think as long as he's on there, anything can happen. He's that player that can find a chance out of nothing. And if you want someone running at the other side, then it is definitely Allan Saint-Maximin. I'm really excited to see what happens next. And let's just hope that he stays fit and doesn't fall down because of the amount of games that he's played. Miggy's in the centre there, I think just behind our striker. Almiron, for me, I said in the podcast, is going to be the most important player because you see the amount of effort that he puts in per game for Newcastle. Certainly with the close proximity of these games, Almiron's the type of player that would play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and he wouldn't be knackered or complain by that final day. He loves us. He loves playing in black and white, and he'll always try. And I think if he's got the rest of the team, rest of the cogs turning anyway with the team, he can really make a difference. And a little bit of pace goes a long way. If we're in a tricky situation against Sheffield United, Miggy at the back can take the ball, run it up the other end of the pitch, get us a free kick, and then who knows what happens after that. I think there's a world of possibility with Saint-Maximin and Almiron. Finally up front, Joe Linton, I think, has got to start. He's had a good lockdown pre-season, if you want to call it that. We mentioned again this on the podcast that this could be his sweet spot. I will back that man till he leaves Newcastle because he plays for Newcastle. Same happened with Hosselu. You can't judge a person on the basis that he's up there on his own or the fact that we've got no other options. It's really tough on him. So he's got no crowd getting on his back. He's got no crowd behind him, but we're yet to see that make a difference. So I'm hoping that Joe Linton can hopefully cause a bit of havoc there. With that whole Almiron, Saint-Maximin and Joe Linton trio that we're all willing to see a bit more from, hopefully this will prove good. Time to shine with Joe Linton, because if he doesn't make any of this count, it could be really costly for Newcastle. We'll have to be relying on the defenders to score, the midfielders to score again. Now, I don't really know much about the bench. I don't know what's going to happen with it. All I know is that I've heard that Carroll is fit. Gale is apparently out. So Andy Carroll might be some first choices for a lot of people. I can see it. He can cause havoc. I know in the reverse fixture against Sheffield United, he caused a load of bother. He was actually instrumental in staying onside for the Shelby VAR goal. So Carroll can do all sorts. He can get balls in. He's been a big assister, or at least getting attacks going. So really hope that he as well can stay fit in this quick run of games that we've got coming up, where we're playing a lot in a short space of time. Now, we predicted on the podcast a 2-2. That was based on the previous prediction that we did back in February before the Southampton game, before the games got called off. I still think that Newcastle can get a point out of this one. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game, just based on the fact of what the other Premier League games have been like so far. Very cagey affairs. If we can get a point out of this, I would feel a lot more comfortable going into the rest of it. I think Sheffield United is the toughest out of the first 4 Premier League games that we've got. Take away the FA Cup game, if you will, for a moment, but certainly think that we can get something out of it. It is the hardest game that we will play. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost, and I don't think we should be too disappointed if we lose, but we will see what happens. All I can say for now is, away the lads. It's great to have football back. Get behind them. Let's not go down. See you next time on the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel. There is lots coming.